Welcome everyone. This is our first ever live call-in show for the MVU budget presentation, and I'd like to introduce our people that we have with us. My name is Dennis Boucher. I'm chairman of the school board at MVU, and this is our vice chair Earl Fournier over here to my right, and we have our business manager for the school district, Becky Hart, and the principal at MVU, Mr. Dennis Hill. So we have prepared for you this evening. We have a PowerPoint presentation that's outlining some of the changes that we've got in our budget this year, and especially from our town meeting vote date. So we're going to start with that right now. Missisquoi Valley Union Middle and High School budget presentation. Past history, where we have had 6 years of improvements, and there was a reason for that. We were identified years ago, and we've been working hard to start our improvement process, and we've done very well with that. Instituted new programs based on state and federal compliance requirements. Identified as a state leader for developing school improvement in the 21st century skills plans, and a state model for data teams and assessment programs. I don't know if Mr. Hill would like to...
Sure, I'll just talk a little bit real quickly about the data teams that we have at school. We have grade level and course specific data teams that work together to create opportunities to review student work, and those data teams have demonstrated significant improvement in kids' performance in the school, particularly if you look at our kneecap scores around writing, where for the first time we beat the state average. Our reading scores are up, and we're working really hard in math and science and our other content areas as well. So data teams function, they work, we meet every other day with data teams. Teachers review and reflect on student work and continue to make improvements as a result of the work that they do.
Super, thank you. Next slide. Investment in education. MVU student assessment performance exceeds statewide high school writing average, like Mr. Hill just referenced, delivered at a substantially lower cost per pupil than other Vermont Union high schools. And that's a point that we really wanted to point out, that our cost per pupil has been and still is quite a bit lower than any other school in the state of Vermont as far as Union high schools. Academic accomplishments. Maybe we'll let Mr. Hill tackle this one.
Sure, thanks. So we have a lot of academic accomplishments that take place at MVU. It's a fantastic school with incredibly talented, great kids. MVU students have placed in the Vermont State Science Fair last year and this year. 4 of our graduating seniors were selected to attend Ivy League universities. We have an incredibly strong agricultural education program. We have had multiple student award winners both at the state and national level in some of the programs in our ag ed programs. We've seen significant improvements in our kneecap scores for some of our most learning challenged students. This year we were one of the only schools in the state to have 2 student winners in Senator Bernie Sanders' constitutional essay contest. Many of our teachers have advanced degrees, and many more are working on the degrees that they have. And we continue to be a premier school in Vermont, and we're working really hard to continue that process.
Thank you very much. Next slide. Plenty of academic rigor. I suppose you could probably speak to that as well.
So 19 of our students achieved a Tech Center Skills certification from the Tech Center in St. Albans. And that means that they were certified and passed a test to demonstrate their competency in whatever tech program they were in, and that could be automotive or building trades. We've had students who are in a college dual enrollment course. That's a new thing that's available in Vermont. In the summer of 2013, we had 3 kids that were taking dual enrollment, meaning they get college credits for the work they're doing, and it also applies to their school credits. In the fall of 2013, we had 7. This spring, we have 21 students that are getting dual credit, and next fall we have 16 that are already signed up and prepared to get dual enrollment credits through the college level, and those credits apply at MVU as well.
Super. Innovative practice. Is that the next one? Yeah. Teachers asked to present work at different schools across the state. First school in Vermont to require financial literacy as a graduation requirement. Innovative grading practices, utilizing course incompletes instead of giving out Fs, MVU Summer Academy, Extended School Year Support and Enrichment, Farm to Table Initiative, and we were also selected as one of the top 100 communities to raise children. All right, advanced placement courses, 5-year score summary, and that's quite a lot of information on that chart. I don't know if we want to do more than show that, or if we want to reference some of that.
I can give just a brief overview, and
Sure.
basically it's advanced placement courses are courses that are extra challenging for kids, but one of the benefits of the advanced placement courses is that if kids score a 3 or higher, and if you look at the bottom two columns in the PowerPoint, you'll see that we had a large number of our kids who scored a 3 or higher, which means that those courses then they can apply for credits at the college level with advanced placement courses. So it's really important to keep the rigor level high, and also gives kids a significant break in their cost of their post-secondary education when they can apply and get credits already from their high school AP courses. So it's pretty impressive. We don't have the AP scores yet for students from this year, so that's why those two pieces of the PowerPoint are blank, but the rest of the scores speak pretty highly about the number of kids that we have that are really invested in improving their educational opportunity.
Certainly. All right, co-curricular accomplishments. We've had a successful drama and musical presentations. The only Vermont student chosen to march in the Macy's Day Parade. That was exciting. 2 students play in the Vermont Youth Orchestra. Student Council recognized for collecting the highest volume of blood at the Red Cross Blood Drive, and that's been pretty much a historic thing. They're always right in the running for the highest number of pints. 40th anniversary of student-led skit night, Operation Happiness Toy Drive, and the students have raised about $250,000 for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And there's more co-curricular accomplishments. Basketball state championship boys in 2012, and if I remember right, they also won in the soccer and baseball that year. Track and field individual state champions in 2014. Starting FBLA, the Future Business Leaders of America program. The VSAC STEM college tours, that's science, technology, engineering, and math. Job shadows and career education. PLPs, personal learning plans, that's something new. 2 students attended Boys Nation. And there's even more. Model UN conferences in Montreal, New York, and Boston. Jazz and rock bands are heading to the Frills and Thrills competition in New York City. Discover Jazz Festival they've been involved in. FFA National Awards. The FFA always sends a team out to the national convention, and they always do fairly well out there at the competitions. Poetry Out Loud competition they participated in, and the Greening Summit, they won a biodiesel award for actually producing biodiesel. Now it goes to you, Earl.
As you've all seen and heard, I mean, we've done pretty well in Cisco, our kids have. And the numbers, if you look at similar high schools, MVU is about 12,000 or a little less. Lemoyle is over 13,000, just over 13,000. They're the closest one to us. BFA St. Albans is fairly close, but they're still over 13,000. Mount Abraham is almost 14,000. Brattleboro is over 14,000. And Middlebury is over 15,000. So we've accomplished a lot at MVU for looking at the statewide cost at a very reasonable rate. And I know that probably doesn't make a lot of difference when you get your tax bill, but it's something to think about.
I often wonder what some of those schools do with another $3,000 or $4,000 per student. That's a lot of money to work with. All right, academic gains and kneecap scores. Mr. Hill, you want to?
Yeah, this is something that I wish I could take all the credit for, but I can't. We have a very strong group of teachers at the school. Our English department in particular has worked really hard in getting back to that data teamwork that I was talking about earlier. So they have really focused on reading and writing all the English language arts. at the school, and for the first time ever, MVU exceeded the state average in our kneecap writing scores in grade 11, which is a phenomenal undertaking to get that many kids to score that high on the kneecap assessment. So very, very proud of the kids. They worked really hard, and our English department worked very, very hard to help make sure all kids were prepared to be there. So that's a fantastic thing.
Yeah, it sure is. All right, grade 11 kneecap writing gains for economically disadvantaged students and free and reduced lunch students. And that one there, that's quite an accomplishment there. That's always a group that that tends to struggle, and they've shown great improvement. This graph here is just that group from last year to this year. It's not comparing to the state. That's how much increase that group has had, which is a great thing. Academic gains in kneecap scores, writing over time, grade 11, all students. So this would be grade 11 from one year to the next. Another great increase there. College scholarship totals, and this year's graduates have they've gotten about $563,815 in college scholarships that they've earned this year. So that's a huge number for. I don't know, what is our graduating class? About
140, 139, I think.
Yeah, about 140 kids to have generated that much money in college scholarships. I think that's a great feat.
This also talks a lot about the community and their support of the kids at the school, because a lot of the scholarships are local,
right?
And kids are benefiting and getting great opportunity.
And post-high school plans. 50% of our students this year are going to be attending 2- and 4-year colleges or universities. 10% will be heading into trade and technical schools, 2% into the military, 35% right into employment, and 3% will be doing something else. Budget growth less than inflation rate. So I don't know if you want to talk about that one, Earl.
Yeah. 2012, we actually had a decrease in the budget. 2013, we were at 3.8. The proposal for 2014 was 3.5. The present budget that we're presenting on June 17th is a 1.99 increase. We'll call it 2% for discussion purposes. The original budget we brought before the voters town meeting day was a 3.3 increase. The total reduction in this budget that's being presented on June 17th is $200,000 from the budget that was presented on town meeting day. It still doesn't decrease the tax rates in the towns, but we've knocked off a penny.
The budget decreases have knocked off a penny, and the statewide tax rate reduced is another 3 cents.
Yeah, so the tax rate from what we were proposing at town meeting time is down by 4 cents. And it's been a struggle to get it down to there.
Yep. Thank you.
There's some things that probably the principal doesn't like in this budget, but we know that the voters have to. We've heard from the voters.
All right. Budget revisions. Just like Earl mentioned, our March 4th budget that we proposed was $15,618,230, and we did have a $77,000 cut on our April 29th budget vote, and then now the one we're proposing for June 17th is at $15,418,230, which is exactly a $200,000 reduction from the town meeting day vote. And like Earl said, that's a 1.99 increase over last year's budget. And we did remove the football program and the road sign, electronic sign out by the road that was proposed, and that was something that was pretty clear through from the voters that that had to come out of the budget. So we did remove that. And like we said, the vote will be on the 17th, and our informational meeting will be at the MVU library on the 16th. And here's some more of what we reduced for our third vote reductions here. We removed football and the road sign. Those were removed previously, but this last round, basically it's workers' comp, insurances, and the Catamount health plans. Just more or less, we've got accurate numbers at this point, and about a $28,000 reduction from that. Handicap accessible bus for middle school, that's an $18,000 savings, and that's not that we're not providing the bus that we need, it's that the student needs were different and we didn't need that bus. So pretty good savings there. Plant operations has cut $17,437 from their budget. We were planning on putting in an intercom system throughout the school that we decided could wait till another year. And then special education IAs, because the need wasn't there, we were able to save about $32,862 on that. More reductions for this time around. Psychological purchase services evaluation, we've cut that line by $5,000. Instructional programs dues by $5,000 plus, and ag supervision $5,000 there. So again, the things that we've eliminated: football and the road sign, and then those other things that I just mentioned, bring our total of reductions up to $200,000. And since it's been such a hot topic, the board has taken a position on football, and basically it's our feeling that we should have built a little more community support in advance of the budget vote. And what's going to happen with football now is going to be a club sport for the next couple of years. No taxpayer money is going to go to that program. I know a lot of people ask, what about the officials? What about transportation? And I tell them is no taxpayer money means no taxpayer money. So if it's not fundraiser money that the kids in the program have raised, it's not going to happen. And the school teams are going to have priority over the fields, over the football kids. So any other comments on that?
Well, I would just say that it's going to be a 2-year experiment, as long as the money can be raised outside of the MVU budget, and I was not one who was really in favor of doing the things this way, but the football committee and the kids involved in the football committee have raised the money to get the program started, and I can see why the board made this decision now, because it's kind of hard to say no to the kids. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, maybe it'll build community sport, doing it this way. I hate to say no to the kids, even though I voted against the board's position.
You gonna do this one?
Sure.
Okay, the property tax calculation does have an income sensitivity component, and taxpayers can receive a tax credit on their bill based on household income. And this slide shows that approximately 70% of taxpayers in the 4 towns in Franklin Northwest do receive some level of credit towards their tax bills.
Thank you. And apparently with the system we have, there's no tax impact on businesses and second home owners.
Yeah. The calculation for the non-resident property tax is not impacted by the school budget. That rate is set by the legislature, and it's modified by each town's common level of appraisal.
And again, vote information, our vote date will be June 17th, 2014. Locations at the Franklin Elementary School from 10 to 7, the Highgate Elementary School from 7 to 7, and the Swanton Village Municipal Complex from 7 to 7, with our informational meeting being the night before on the 16th, and that would be at the MVU Library. Now, if our budget vote fails on June 17th, something we wanted to make clear to the voters is that there would be no tax money until 30 days after a successful vote. So we can't access money even if we did pass a budget on the 17th. It's 30 days before we can access any money from that. And if the budget does fail, then the towns would have to borrow the money to run the school, and we can only borrow up to 87% of last year's budget. And of course, there would be interest due on money that's borrowed, and we have to keep trying at that point to pass our budget. And there's a lot of factors, a lot of things that can come into play if we don't pass a budget. We've got here, may lose good teachers, certainly a morale issue for students and staff. So it's something we've worked hard to get this budget where it is, and our hope is that we'll get support for it. And again, remember, education is the most important economic development tool in Franklin County. And we certainly would like you to make the effort to vote on June 17th. And also another thing we'd like to encourage and push a little bit is absentee ballots. It's a busy time of year for everyone, and it's a great idea to just get an application and send in and get your absentee ballot ahead of time, and you're able to vote when it's convenient for you. So I think all the town clerks are certainly prepared for that.
There's a MVU Facebook page that has the absentee ballot information on that, and on the MVU website as well. You can get information on the absentee ballot process, both of those locations.
Thank you very much. I heard the phone ringing. I wonder if we have a call in. No. But at this point, I don't see the number on the screen right now, but there it is. There's a phone number to call in, and we would be very excited to have calls in, and we'd be happy to attempt to answer any and all questions. And we had a few questions that were emailed in to us earlier, so we will go through a few of those while we wait for the phones to ring. I guess one of the first ones we'll tackle is what happens if the budget doesn't pass in June. And I think we just explained that pretty well. Does anybody else have anything else to add on to that question?
Well, we'll have to have another revote at some point in time, but more than likely it would be not till late summer.
Yeah.
And then there's the issue of borrowing money to operate the school, and there will be some costs there. I don't know how it's going to affect the contract. The contract has been set out, so we're kind of obligated to that right now. And
Right. I guess the other thing that maybe a lot of people don't think about is that there's a pretty good cost associated with every time we do vote. I mean, that's there's every town has to be a part of it. The people get paid to man the polls and count the ballots, and the ballots cost money, and so that's just something I want people to be aware of. So we have a caller. We'll keep going.
I think it's important to note that we've made a fairly significant reduction, even though $200,000 might not sound like a lot on a $50 million budget, but people need to understand that there are fixed costs there that we're obligated to. We have salaries, we have benefits, and we're fortunate that the benefit costs didn't go up significantly this year, because it would have had bigger impacts on the budget. We've at $200,000, we've taken everything out, and still I feel that we'll be able to maintain the progress we've been making on a yearly basis from an educational standpoint, and that's very important. MVU has a lot better reputation now than it did a few years ago.
I think we have our first caller.
Okay, you got a caller?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Well, thank you for calling in on our budget presentation show. What is your question this evening?
Yes. What is the value of the AP courses and why does MVU offer them?
Well, thank you very much for that question. We've got Mr. Hill right here who's just anxious to answer that question.
So glad the first question came in.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for calling.
Thank you.
I think I mentioned it briefly before, but the AP classes that we offer are the most advanced courses that students can take at school, and they are teachers who teach AP have to have an AP certification, which means they do a little additional training to be able to provide a higher level of rigor for kids who are taking the classes. The beauty of the AP class is that not only does it prepare kids for the college experience by having them work a little bit harder at a higher level during their high school experience, but if students take the AP course, do well on the AP exam, they can apply the AP exam to the college that many colleges will take a 3 or better on an AP test and exchange that for college credits. So kids can sometimes take 3 or 4 or 5 AP courses. They may start their first year in college at a $15,000 savings, roughly, because they're able to get college credits for the AP courses that we provide. And I think it's really great to challenge kids. And the AP courses that we have are fantastic. We have some great teachers, and we showed the numbers during the slideshow. We have a lot of students who take the AP courses, and we have over 60% of the kids get a 3 or better on the test. And so those 60% of the kids that take it are able to trade those towards college credits and save money for their families. And it's a great opportunity for kids.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, all right. Our next question we have here. All right. If the budget doesn't pass by July 1st, do I still pay an education tax bill? All right. That's a great question. I believe the answer is yes, but you'll be assessed at last year's rate. And once the budget passes, each town will have to calculate the appropriate rate and then send out revised tax bills. So again, it makes a little more work for the town clerks, and that's basically where we're at right now. So our hope is that we will pass our budget on June 17th so that we don't have to deal with that. All right, another question that we had emailed in. Not sure I understand what your slide means that states the state pays portion of property taxes for nearly 70% of voters. So I don't know if you want to answer that one, Becky.
Well, I think what that slide was showing was that approximately 70% of taxpayers do receive some form of a tax credit. And I guess I'm not sure what the rest of the question was. So the state law equalizes the effort to pay property taxes for lower income homeowners by assessing a tax bill based on income and property or rent value, whichever is less. This roughly means that the lower your household income is, the greater reduction in your property tax bill. And if you want more information about this complex system, you can call the superintendent's office during the day at 868-4967.
And you'll probably talk to Becky.
Most likely. And ask for Becky when you call.
Ask for Becky. All right. Let me see what we had for questions. All right, here's a good one. It looks like we're adding new positions, yet student enrollment has been dropping. Can you explain this? And we are adding a couple of new positions. They're in the technology area, and I guess I'll have Mr. Hill explain why now is the time we feel we need technology positions.
Thank you. We have 2 new positions that are included in this budget. One is for a tech integrationist, and the tech integrationist role is really, really important right now because we are at a place where our kids, the students that we have coming into our school, are much more advanced than many of the adults that are working with kids. And we all are realizing that the ability to use technology is going to benefit kids no matter what they do after high school. If they go to college, if they go right to the workforce, if they go to the military, their technology skills have to be better than they are. So our tech integrationists will work with teachers and students to make sure that we're all on the same level and really improve opportunities for kids. I think the other important thing that maybe people are not aware of, and it's really important, is that the kneecap assessments that we have been given prior disappear. We're not going to use kneecap anymore. We'll be moving to the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium, the SBAC test. People have probably heard that buzzing around out there.
Common Core.
The Common Core, yep. And the SBAC is the assessment that does the Common Core. And it is all online. It's a technology-based assessment. And so kids need to be able to use the technology in a manner that a lot of them are not familiar with using. Our teachers need to be prepared to make sure that the kids are prepared to use it. So the technology integration person it's really, really important right now. The other tech position is a tech support position, and that person is really, their intention will be to really just maintain hardware, make sure that the machines are up and running, that the internet is functioning well. There's just, it's sort of I'm not sure how to describe it. We love the technology because we can move it forward, but at the same time, there's an associated cost that comes with it that we're not so happy about. But it sort of balances out in the fact that it gives kids better opportunities to be successful after high school. And I think that's really the important thing for people to hear, is that it's not frivolous, and we're not doing it because we think it'll be a fun thing to do, but it's really an essential part of what these kids need to have when they leave the high school.
I think some of this goes back to the fact that MVU has expenditures per student lower than most of the other high schools similar to us. It's probably because we haven't spent a lot of money on technology over the years, and it's something that even the former principal was bringing to the board. That some point in time something was going to have to be done. To get these two positions in there and still end up with a 1.99 increase in the budget is something that we're very fortunate, because it could have been a lot more increase in the budget. And I think with the board has had this discussion, and the issue of less students, not reducing the staff, is something that is being reviewed seriously. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to see some effect in next year's budget.
Got another call.
Another call?
We'll take it. We'll take our next call.
Yes, thank you very much for coming on. It's good that it's an informative way of getting to your taxpayers what's going on with the budget. I did graduate from Missisquoi in the early '71, so I am a graduate from Missisquoi Valley. It's a wonderful school. You've got some talented teachers out there, and they're trying to do what they are supposed to do, to give a quality education, and I think that is being done out there. The problem that we have in the state, and then we have to get after our senators and our representatives, is that the mandates coming down from the state are hurting the towns from passing their budgets, because the budgets have to raise due to cost increase of salaries or benefits or just the fuel and all that other stuff. So, but I think Missisquoi is an outstanding school, and I've had relatives that graduated from there and got banners up there in your auditorium. Laura McWilliams was graduated from there about 3 years ago, and I think that Missisquoi is doing a good job, and I hope that the people will support it. But you also have to get after your representatives so that they'll, these mandates are what it's hurting the schools, and if we don't stop them there, then the budgets will have to be increased to cover the cost of running any high school. And also, I'm president of Public Access, and we also gave scholarships out to two of your students out there. So, you got good quality students, and we gave out 2 scholarships out there. So I want to thank you all for coming on and being informative to your viewers in your area. Thank you. Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that call. Yeah, that makes our job easy with calls like that.
Please call back.
Yes, we appreciate that. All right. Now, what were we in the middle of? We
were talking about the technology position,
technology, right,
cost per pupil, and we're still keeping a budget within a reasonable increase. I think at 2%, we're probably at the state average an increase this year, or a little less across the state. And that's what the governor's target was, wasn't it?
I believe
Maintain
so. Yeah,
2%.
right. Yep.
The caller, what he said is somewhat true, and part of this technology issue comes from the fact that we're
the
going to the
test.
Common Core and that SBAC test that we have to do. We might have been gotten away with just one position instead of the two, but I do feel it's going to be a big benefit for our kids because the technology is such a big thing now. And I can see what Dennis is saying. The kids might be ahead of the teachers. My son is, when he was 12, 13 years old, is texting. And I had trouble writing. So, the technology is a big thing now, and our kids, if they're going to be competitive after they get out of school, they got to really be knowing how to use it.
One of the things that the caller just mentioned was the the mandates that come from the states and the federal government. One of the state mandates is all students grades 7 through 12 need to have a personalized learning plan. So that's just one more thing that will require technology to be able to track where kids are going to go, what their goals are, how that works in the school. So all those things all fit together, and we work our hardest to make sure that we're meeting the expectations from the state, but at the same time doing our best to support kids. And the caller was correct. It creates an imbalance sometimes, and it's a tough system to find ways to fund it appropriately when you're being asked to do these other things all along as well. And it's not an excuse. It's a challenge. And I think MVU does a fantastic job, as Earl alluded to, of providing an incredibly good education for kids at the lowest cost of any union school in the state, which is a pretty amazing thing.
Well, and our school's not unlike any other household. I mean, our expenses go up every year. Our electrical costs, our fuel, all that stuff goes up every year. So it's hard to maintain a zero increase budget when the expenses go up. So now that second tech position you mentioned as far as maintenance and setting up technology equipment, that you make that sound like it's a fairly easy job. Is that with a school full of equipment, is that an easy job?
No, it's not. We currently have a gentleman named Mr. Bowers, who is the only person at our school doing the work now. Well, Angie's there too, so we have two people but Angie does some other things as well. And Jerry, Mr. Bowers, he's a human blur because he's always literally running through the building, putting out little fires and making sure computers are working. This position is really essential to make sure that we can provide kids and teachers with the structure to use the technology appropriately. Because if it's not working, then you can't use it. So you can sit there with a computer, but if you can't access the internet resources to do your research on, why have it? Let's just go back to what we had. And I don't think we're going back. So I think it's important that position's there. And it's definitely not easy. There's a lot of technical skill needed to do that job.
And there's just so many machines.
900 in the building.
So
That doesn't include printers.
Right, that's just the computers.
Yeah.
And can I just add one more thing? If you don't mind?
Please.
Just about the technology piece. A lot of schools are going to one-to-one initiatives where every kid has a laptop or a computer. And we are not there yet. We're not prepared to go there yet because we're not at the level where our teachers are able to use it appropriately. So, that's something that I would like to move towards in the future, but it's unrealistic to say let's do that now. And I think this is, having a tech integrationist gives our kids the same level of resource support that any other school will have, even if they have one-to-one initiatives, because we'll have an integrationist really helping our teachers use it better to improve students' opportunities.
Yeah, it's another one of them examples where MVU would still be moving forward at a reasonable cost. But I know that we're going to have to get expenses, continue to monitor expenses. I think the declining school population is an issue that's going to have to be addressed. It's something that I think we're going to see more of, in hopefully in next year's budget. But for now, $200,000 I think is a big step forward. Way better than what we brought to voters in April.
all right. Well, I don't hear the phone ringing off the hook. I do have another statement that I wanted to add before the show was over, and I'm not saying that we're done yet, but I just wanted to mention that MVU provides a good education for students at a substantially lower cost than almost all other middle and high schools in Vermont. MVU also educates an above average number of students who required by law additional resources to be, whoops, I think I missed that. MVU also educates an above average number of students who require by law additional resources to be successful. We recognize the importance of education attainment and its critical impact on economic development in the region. The MVU School Board has prepared a responsible budget that both balances school quality with the projected funds needed to operate the school. We support the budget and encourage voters to do the same. Please exercise your democratic responsibility and vote on June 17th. So, not necessarily closing the show down, but I just wanted to make sure we added that before we forgot.
Yeah, and I certainly would urge, the community to vote. As many people, turnout is something I'd like to see more of, at our meetings and at the polls too. I guess there's been some disconnect between the board and the community, but I think we're trying to make the effort now to listen to what you had to say and bring back a reduced budget that you feel is affordable. It may not be affordable for everybody, but I think we're making a step in the right direction this time. I mean, we're bringing back a budget, and that's all it is a budget. There's no special articles in there. We're not asking for any money, and we reduced it by $200,000. If we have to, we're going to have to do something if it gets voted down, but I feel right now with the budget that we're presenting is going to give our kids the best opportunity to be successful and maintain what MVU's been doing over the years at a very reasonable rate.
And I guess, unless you guys have anything else to add, that's probably going to wrap up our show for this evening. We certainly appreciate anybody who's watched, and the callers that we had were very helpful. And
the only thing I might add, Dennis, is that if you have questions and maybe you weren't comfortable calling here on TV, call the board members. You know who your board members are in town, and you can call them. We're elected officials, so we have. If you call, we have to answer.
Yeah, and our numbers are all on the website, the MVU website. Our numbers and addresses and all the information is there. The school's not a bad place to call. I know they like to get calls there as well. And certainly I'd like to encourage anybody else that does have questions on the 16th, Monday night the 16th, is our informational meeting, and we can set up for a lot of people, so I'd like to encourage people to come and be informed and really learn what they're voting on for on the 17th. So again, I appreciate your time, and thank you very much, and good night.